I've never corrected anyone who assumes my son's scar is from the accident. It isn't, and the person who gave it to him still carves the turkey every year. The scar runs from Eli's eyebrow down to his cheekbone, thin and silver now. He was 6 when he got it. Everyone at the table knows the story. The pileup on Route 9 2 winters ago, the guardrail, the broken glass. My father-in-law Walt tells it better than anyone. Terrifying night, Walt would say, shaking his head slow. Kid's a fighter though. Look at him now. And everyone would look at Eli, and Eli would look down at his plate. Here's the thing. Eli was in that accident, but the accident didn't touch his face. He walked out of it without a mark. The scar came 4 days later, on a Sunday, when Walt babysat him so my wife and I could finally sleep. I didn't know that until 3 weeks ago. Eli's 8 now. He was helping me hang lights, and he flinched when I reached past him, the way he always flinches, and I said, "Bud, it's just me," and he said, "I know, you don't wear the ring." "What ring?" He went quiet. Then so small I almost missed it. Grandpa's ring. The heavy one. That's what my face is from, not the crash. I set the lights down. Say that again. I was jumping on the couch. He told me to stop. I didn't stop fast enough. Eli touched the scar like he was checking it was still there. He backhanded me. The ring caught me. There was so much blood. He said if I told, the accident would be my fault, that everybody would know I did it. 6 years old. Walt had handed him a lie that fit the timeline perfectly, and Eli had carried it for 2 years. I didn't scream. I didn't call my wife in from the kitchen. I drove to Walt's house the next morning with my phone recording in my shirt pocket. He answered in his robe, coffee in hand, that signet ring right there on his finger. "This is a surprise. Eli told me about the couch," I said, "about the ring." Walt didn't even blink. He sipped his coffee. "That was a long time ago. So it happened. The boy was out of control, bouncing off the walls, screaming, ignoring me." He shrugged, actually shrugged. I corrected him. My hand slipped. "It was an accident on top of an accident, if you want to be technical. You told a 6-year-old it was his fault. I told a 6-year-old to keep his mouth shut so his mother wouldn't fall apart." He pointed the mug at me. "You're welcome, by the way. You two slept fine that week." I said okay. I said we'd talk later. I drove home, and I listened to the recording 11 times. Then I waited for Thanksgiving, because Walt always carves the turkey, and Walt always makes his little speech, and this year I wanted the whole family in the room. Thanksgiving came. 14 of us around the table. Walt stood up with the carving knife, tapped his glass, and started in. "Before we eat, I just want to say, this family has been through hard times. That accident could have taken this little guy." He put his free hand on Eli's shoulder. Eli went rigid. "But he's a fighter, aren't you, buddy?" "Actually, Walt," I said, standing, "I recorded something I think everyone should hear." The table went still. My wife looked at me like I'd lost it. I set my phone on the table and pressed play. Walt's own voice, tinny but clear. I corrected him. My hand slipped. A pause. Then, unmistakable, I told a 6-year-old to keep his mouth shut. Fork stopped moving. My mother-in-law's face drained white. My wife's hand flew to her mouth. Walt was still holding the knife. "You edited that," he said. "That's out of context." "Play it again," my wife whispered. So I did. All of it. The couch. The ring. It was your fault. You're welcome. Nobody breathed. Eli was staring at his grandfather with tears sliding down over the scar, the real scar, and for the first time in 2 years he wasn't the one who looked ashamed. Walt set the knife down. His hand was shaking now. "Now hold on. You've carved this turkey for 6 years," I said. "Get out of my house." And the man who'd made my son carry his lie stood there in a room full of the people he'd fooled, the knife on the table between us, with nothing left to say and nowhere to put his hands.